Did something new today. Where are we? Okay. Look at that. Now, I think that you'll still be seeing that Signum Academy background. So let me turn that off. If this seems a little bit rougher even than usual, I apologize. I'm trying a new thing that I was supposed to try back in April or May, and I didn't quite get the nerve to try it. Okay, let me try now. Taking away the background. All right, we're gonna hope that that worked. My name's Wesley. We're here with Signum Academy on Twitch and wow, we're on YouTube and Facebook also, I think, if I did this right. And there's someone here, Storyteller 011. Good evening, everyone. 011, is that binary? Could that be code? I like it either way. Good evening to you, Storyteller 011. Uh, we're here to talk about EarthBound, and I thought I'd start by showing some pictures that are not easy to find, but these are in starmen.net, this great treasure trove of fan resources. There's actually some official stuff here too. There is a section under Mother 2, which is the Japanese name for EarthBound, called Media. You have screenshots, game sprites, official art. Check that out because there is actually some images here from an art book published 20 years ago in 2003 on the release of Mother 1 and 2 for Game Boy Advance, and this contains some concept sketches and pictures from early stages of production. Locations featured here include Dalaam and Winters. We've been to Winters, we've been to Ness's house, Saturn Valley. These are the Dalaam images. That's where we're headed today. So I pulled these up here. I'm hoping you can see okay. Um, Let me see. Wrong button. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, Storyteller, it's a dial number for your city. Cool. And a robot sticking their tongue out. Yeah, right on. Um, it's not every day that I have somebody in the chat, so I'm very excited that you're here, wherever you're joining from. That's cool. And it's not every day that people even like think much about those phone numbers anymore, actually. That's kind of funny. Um, we used to have to know lots of phone numbers. Now they're all in your phone. Easy. Um, so here's an early concept for the land of Dalam, kind of like a leaning tower going on, a a very Eastern style, almost like a mosque design of the building with a dome and the four very strong corners there, and then that tower would be like where the the call goes out for the times of prayer. Um, and it's all, of course, emerging from this awesome giant earthen elephant. Wow. Okay. And then the next one zooms in quite a bit. Very different take on it. So now we're perched atop a mountain. This is pretty close to what Delam ends up looking like in game in terms of these terraces descending the mountain. There's a kind of a mystical looking cave here with some statues in front. And sure enough, that'll make it in the game. There's this temple palace complex up on top of the mountain. And then again, these kind of winding paths that lead up and down. And looking off into the distance, mostly what you're seeing is clouds, but there are actually some other tall peaks rising up. And in game, one of those is going to matter quite a bit. So let's check out our playthrough. Where we left off, we were in Summers, talking to the ship's captain. Talks about how his wife has left him, and it's very sad. And so our next goal is apparently to try to get this captain together with his wife. Oh, by the way, we had to enter our name. We did that. That's you, the player, of course. This man saw a dinosaur. He's learning to play. Scared of the Kraken. Sorry, I thought it was pretty soon here that we're gonna have our episode. I'll just keep zipping ahead until we get there. Oh, we're looking in the museum. That's not right. We gotta come back to the museum. Here we go. Here we go. Now we're in the Stoic Club. This is the wife of the ship's captain. She kind of stands out, doesn't she? It's a unique sprite. We have not seen this sprite before. All the rest of these people, they're meditating on a rock, contemplating the nature of the rock. And she says, okay, yeah, everyone stays at the stone and philosophizes. Doesn't sound stupid. Kinda. I've finally awakened the inner me, the true self. The patrons of this club are all able to start. Sorry, this is way too fast. Normally this playthrough is nice and slow for me. Basically, she's saying, no, this is not stupid. I have awakened. I have realized myself as an individual, as a soul in the world. This is pretty deep stuff. I'm comfortable enough to stare at the real me, the true self, and burn the impression into my superego. I want to be in this comfort zone at any time, all the time, or at no time. My id is telling me, what? What? Magic cake. So here's a moment where our silent protagonist never speaks, except for very, very few moments that arguably he breaks the silence. Ness, or possibly one of the others in the party, delivers this message from her husband, the ship's captain, that breaks into her very deep, self-realization to ask her about magic cake. What magic cake? You came all this way just to eat my magic cake? So she's famous for baking this delicious delicacy from the summery vacation resort town. That's why I've got my ball cap on, by the way, today. I'm on vacation, so I thought I'd look the part here in summers. My wife just brought me this hat back from her trip to Hawaii with her sisters and her dad. So it's pretty exciting stuff. And yeah, I mean, the right answer here is yeah. I hope that our playthrough does it. Yeah, I see. Okay. Why don't you stop by a little cart out on the beach later? There we go. And she goes. So we have brought her back from the brink of nirvana to feed us this delicious magic cake that she alone can make. No one but her knows how to make the magic cake. And there's a mole on the beach for no apparent reason. He's busy falling in love. And he's kind of a creep. Oh, gotta fight the zealous cop. Short work of him. Oh, there she is. I don't know who told you. That's kind of cute. So we don't tell her that it was her husband who sent us. You came from far off just to eat my magic cake. I thought making cakes would be the best career for me. Dig in. I used all leftover materials. This is a very special magic cake. What? Okay, and here's the kicker. Ness had a dream. It was a very clear and very strange dream. Note the comma splice in this sentence. Normally, you're not allowed to do this in English. We don't like in writing, conventions wise, when you have a complete sentence, Ness had a dream. And then you start another complete sentence. It was a very clear and very strange dream. And you just mash them together and put a comma in between. Not allowed in English grammar as far as our current conventions. But if you're writing poetry, if you are, I don't know, translating a video game from Japanese rapidly and you're just trying to do it as fast as you can and doing your best, then we can make some exceptions here. But there's a tendency to overuse the comma in an effort to provide a break for the reader, as if you're reading aloud, right? Ness had a dream. It was a very clear and very strange dream. So we're using that comma a bit poetically here. And who is telling us this? It's in parentheses. My theory is that this is very much like those messages that we get from the developer of the game. Sometimes if you talk to a dog in ONET, you'll have these parentheses around stuff that the dog is saying. It says, I'm being possessed by the developer of the game to tell you this information. It's kind of a joke, right? There's some more serious ones, like we saw in Saturn Valley with the tea and coffee. Sorry, we haven't seen tea yet. That's later. The coffee break in Saturn Valley, where the screen very much dramatically changes and language comes across that's quite distinctive. And that's, you know, presumably something that the developer, Shigesato Itoi, is telling us about this adventure we're on. So, Ness's dream. Here we go. Dream sequence time. Does it look familiar yet? Dalaam in the far east. I'll turn it up for you. There's our elephants. There's our temple. The palace of Pu, the crown prince. There he is. The time has come to undertake your final trial. Go to the place of emptiness and endure this final test. I'm praying for your success. Go quickly. Go in peace. Whoa! A cup of life noodles. All right, I'm going to pause it here for a sec. So what happens in Ness's dream? He dreams of a friend that he's never met. Prince Pu, or whatever you named him at the start of the game, hanging out on his throne in his castle slash palace slash temple, surrounded by his advisors and the treasures of the land. His final trial involves going to the place of emptiness. We are taking over playing as Prince Pu during this sequence, very much like we did with Jeff at an earlier point when Paula calls to him for help. Um, but this one is Ness and Ness's dream. And it's exactly like playing a video game, isn't it? Um, there is some kind of connection maybe between the way that our mind creates images, generates ideas in visual form for us, and the activity of playing this video game. Those are fused here. A person within the game is having a dream. Turns out it's very much like his own reality. I think that's super cool. I'm going to check Slack really quick because I have a message. Did I do something wrong? Did I do something right? Oh, it wasn't a message from this. It's something else. Okay, good. Then I think so far we're okay. I'm gonna assume that things are okay. I think things are working okay. All right. So any questions, you can always pop them in the chat on Twitch. I am not sure how to monitor the other places this is. See, that's just occurring to me that this is synchronously, yeah, at the same time streaming. So I can't check those comments. If you got comments, please go to Twitch real quick and put them in the chat there. That's the one I know how to check. Sorry. Anyway, we're going to proceed now to the place of emptiness. So let's zip ahead a little bit in this playthrough. Getting all our treasures, calling home, the Star Master. Whoa, maybe it's too loud. That's what it is. It's too loud. Sorry. I knew I was messing something up. I knew it couldn't keep going correctly for very long. Is the sound okay again? I'm gonna keep going. All right. All right. So Prince Pooh is a very popular guy. Seems like that's all you do these days. Take some time to play. So lonely. He's got all these friends throughout Dalaam. This one's jealous of his training because all he does is train. Ooh, delicious. So, some new items. Prince Pooh, blush, you are such a hunk. There's new powers that Prince Pooh has. He has the unique ability to drink water and recover his psychic points, his PP. Of course, you have no money at the moment, so you're gonna have to go with anything that you find. Um, items have a different effect on Prince Pooh, partly because he comes from a different place, is used to different foods and drinks. This is that temple we could see in the other image, the concept art. It's blocked by some rabbit statues. So we'll just have to file that away for later. All right. And then the path kind of leads us finally over here to our destination, the place of emptiness. Mu, the place of nothingness. Clear everything from your mind. Mu. Mu is Mu. This is where we meet the Star Master. Sorry. You must be Prince Pooh. I completed Mu training long ago. And he teleports away. Alright, so we'll meet him again later. And we climb up to the top of this mountain among the clouds. We begin our meditation. Are you meditating? Or are you listening to this friend saying that it's time to give up meditating? Okay, we're going to keep meditating. Sit still long enough. We enter the battlefield of the mind. Okay, don't be afraid. It's just the ghost of your ancestors. Spirit of your ancient lineage. To complete your trial, I'm going to break your legs. You lose the use of them. Do you accept this? Yes. Boom. So, I don't want to subject you to this too long here, but do you get the gist of it? Sorry, some Russian playthrough of Final Fantasy III. This spirit of the lineage of the ancestors proceeds to destroy Prince Pooh, breaks his legs, breaks his arms, takes his life energy, his HP plummets. There's nothing you can do except accept to allow this to continue to happen. If you say no at any point, or if you follow the messenger who is sent to tell you to stop training, that is essentially failing the test that's been set before you. The test is allowing the nothingness to be, which is a very paradoxical idea. That's something that is defined by its non-existence, its nothingness, its emptiness, has to be permitted, be allowed, and just let that play its course. Follow its course. Anyway, play itself out. Um, this is one of those moments in the game, like the coffee break, where you're being talked to by the developer, or like waiting for the falls when you have to go rescue the Mr. Saturns from the secret factory back there, and all you have to do to say the password is just wait for 3 minutes. Um, these moments when the game is defined by taking you out of the game in a way, right? breaking that feeling of immersion, that sense that this is a complete and understandable experience, right? Um, and Tolkien has some thoughts about this. So I'm going to transition now. I know it's a little bit of a hard transition to make. I've talked before about how this moment seems to reference some ideas in Taoism, in Buddhism, those Far East kinds of concepts that are being brought in here. But since we're focusing on how this game comes out of stories and ideas that go back to Tolkien and the things he's drawing on, that come through Dungeons and Dragons and all these role-playing games, and they eventually come into EarthBound, we're going to look at a really great talk given at a Myth Moot 5 years ago now. So I know this is a little bit out of left field. All right, so not seeing any comments in the chat. No complaints so far. All right, let's press on. So this is a talk given by the great Dr. Verlin Flieger, great Tolkien scholar. Um, and I have been rereading recently her book, Splintered Light, which is, if you're really into Tolkien, like a great book to read, especially if you're struggling with the Silmarillion, you know, need a little bit of help with that Silmarillion stuff. She is kind of a guide through that for you. It has some really beautiful ways of understanding how that book connects with the rest of Tolkien and with a lot of other stuff. So really a role model for me personally. And I had the chance to talk to her for one of my podcast projects a little while ago now. She was very gracious to answer all my questions. I mean, just a remarkable scholar. So here she is talking about a moment when Sam is confronting a kind of dream of his, the dream of the Oliphants that Sam has had, right? To see this amazing creature, and he finally gets to see it, but it's not quite like he had imagined. So here, I think this is the right place in the talk. Let's pick up here. So let me increase the volume for you.
The wonder here is of a darker order altogether. And here's Tolkien's description of Sam seeing the scene.
Oh no.
The man came to rest in the fern a few feet away, face downward, green arrow.
I'm so sorry. Let me plug in my computer for you. All right. See, again, everything's going great until it's not. Okay, we're ready.
The man came to rest in the fern a few feet away, face downward, green arrow feathers sticking from his neck below a golden collar. His scarlet robes were tattered. His corselet of overlapping brazen plates was rent and hewn. His black plaits of hair, braided with gold, were drenched with blood. It was Sam's first view of a battle, and he did not like it much. He was glad that he could not see the dead face. He wondered what the man's name was, and where he came from, and if he was really evil at heart, or what lies or threats had led him on the long march from his home, and if he would not really rather have stayed there in peace, all in a flash of thought. So, as with Bilbo looking at Smaug, Frodo looking at Lorien or at the ring.
Sorry, that's just too funny. The closed captioning gave us Bill Bell instead of Bilbo. Bill Bell is my father-in-law. Just saw him. He's doing well. All right. So she's making her argument here. Sorry.
Bilbo looking at Smaug, Frodo looking at Lorien or at the ring, the elves looking at the stars. The real target of this paragraph, these words, is we the readers, as we look at Sam looking at the man. We are seeing through someone else's eyes what Tolkien wants us to see, which is, in this case, not Sam, but the questions raised by Sam's wondering who the man was, where he came from, how he got to this particular place, all implicit in the bigger question of why he had to die.
So that is how you read Tolkien. I mean, let me say again, just um, there are tons of arguments that you'll hear about whether Tolkien is, uh, you know, he is critiqued for being too black and white, too everyone good is super good and everyone evil is super evil, and this is totally unrealistic because good versus evil in that way doesn't reflect the reality we live in. We all have elements of good, we all have elements of evil. Um, Tolkien is a much more subtle. Yeah, yeah, Takako. Oh, that's what it was popping up on Slack. Look at me on my devices. Man, okay, so nice of you to tune. I don't know what time it is there, but that's cool that you're watching or we're watching. Um, what was I saying? So the idea that Tolkien is an author worth reading, Verlin Flieger has a lot to do with making that happen. And the connection I want to make here is that in Earthbound, we similarly tend to think of video games as these simple stories, very simplistic, very basic kinds of good versus evil storytelling. And I don't think that's what we actually get at all. Um, this is a really critical moment where we are faced with something very much deeper um, than the good versus evil adventure that we thought we were on. We're facing the spirit of an ancestor who is physically destroying our new friend. Um, and that is somehow training that he has to undergo, that suffering, that maybe to the point of death. Um, and that's what Tolkien is showing us in this moment. Sam is seeing this person who had to die in this much larger war that's going on and wondering why he was even there in the first place. And this person is very other, very different, very unlike Sam. Not just because he's a big person, but because he is a person from a distant land with all this gold and with all this imagery of the East or possibly what we would imagine as Africa or the Middle East, maybe something more like that. Um, the kind of land that C.S. Lewis represents in his books, the Narnia books, as this land of Cawlor men, um, a southern land, a hot land, a desert land. Um, this is drawing on some of that same well of imagery, right? These people ride war elephants to battle. Um, they are speaking a different language, and again, they have different qualities to them, physical qualities, possibly racial qualities, although again, I don't necessarily want to imply that this is settling that question by any stretch. But what this is doing is showing us how Tolkien brings in those differences and then allows us to see through the eyes of the character that they actually have so much in common, right? That they can sympathize. Um, at least someone like Sam can sympathize, even in that moment of battle, and can feel that amazing quality of wonder that Tolkien's work so inspires for others. Um, so you can find this whole talk. The whole thing is worth watching and listening to. Um, but I just want to pull out that one moment because of the elephants. Again, I mean that's a little superficial, but that's what reminded me of. Um, and this idea of a far eastern land that we're pulling into this story that is so much about how the culture of America has become global and how the Japanese developers of this game are sort of reflecting that culture. So I think there's a lot to this idea of having the other, having a different culture represented, and yet seeing it in a way that is deeply leading us to sympathize deeply with it. Um, a kind of alter ego for Ness in this character of Prince Pooh. Um, and a dream that Ness is having as they are once more kind of stuck on their journey. So Let's skip ahead a bit. I don't want to, again, belabor this portion too much. It's kind of violent. So let's get to where Pooh. Oh, oh, geez. No, I don't want to do that. What did I do? What am I doing? Here we go. Okay. So Prince Pooh passes his training by accepting all of it. You've completed your training. Now, how's he gonna get out of this place? Gonna get the story. A message from eternity. The evil entity that controls all wickedness is preparing for the greatest struggle of all time. The only ones who can challenge the entity are 3 boys and 1 girl. One named Ness is the leader of the 4. One of the boys is you, Prince Pooh. Now that you've completed your training, search out Ness at once. For all beings, for the earth herself, I pray for growth in the might of the 4. You gain some levels, alright, right on. And you learn teleportation, and you teleport, and bam! Prince Pooh, the one who will fight beside you. I am the servant of Ness. I will obey Ness. Ness, my life is in your hands. Cool. Pooh joined you. So what is that showing you? I mean, I think, and again, we get so little of this background actually spelled out for us, but it seems to me Pooh is the kind of person who you could see him getting a little bit proud. He has all these friends, these admirers. He's a prince after all. And so what he is learning through his training is to empty out all of that pride, to become humble, to become like a servant. And this is not that different from the Western tradition that I'm more familiar with, where the greatest leaders are the greatest servants. So anyway, Pooh has joined us. We have experienced the beauty, the wonder of Dalaam, and the strangeness of that training. Um, and now we're back. We're back in Summers. We have a party member who has the ability to teleport. That's pretty cool. Um, and we are going to see if we can make our way across the ocean for next time. Now that the magic cake lady is back in business, maybe the ship's captain will take us across the sea. All right, so if there's no other comments and questions, great. Thank you all for tuning in wherever you tuned in, wherever you found this. I hope you'll find your way back in a couple of weeks. So not our normal 2-week cycle because this month has 5 weeks in it. Maybe if I remember, I'll do something special on that 5th Monday of the month. But otherwise, in any case, we'll be back for the first Monday and the third Monday of September. I mean, school's starting again. Summer's on the way out, and we're on the way out of summers. Thanks again. I'm going to say goodbye for now.